Hi. Uh, I think recording is on now. Okay.
Okay.
Great. So good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you, and thanks for taking out your valuable time. Just to set the context, ABC Consultant basically is a pioneer and organized recruitment organization, and we've been doing a series of these virtual roundtables for the past 3-4 months now, across sectors. Till now, we've already done about over 70 of them so far, in sectors like financial services, technology, healthcare, health tech, logistics, supply chain, FMCG, and retail. And this one today is specifically focused on the EDTECH sector, a sector which is basically considered a sunrise sector of the economy and has gathered a lot of investor interest of late, and perhaps is emerging as a disruptor. And the topic for today's discussion is EdTech Innovating Disruption. And to discuss that, we've got elite panel of leaders from some of the top EdTech organizations. I'll start with a quick round of introduction, a very, very brief introduction in the interest of time. We've got Shreyasi Singh, who's the founder and CEO of Harappa Education. Shreyasi is a successful editor with about 15 years of experience in broadcasting and print journalism. She's an author and an avid writer, and now the founder and CEO of Harappa Education based at Delhi. We've got Anil Nagar, and founder and CEO of Adda 247. Anil is an alumni of Goa Institute of Management and engineering graduate from IIT BHU. He's the founder and CEO of Adda 247 and on his way to create one of the largest edutech company in the world. We've got Falgun. Falgun is an alumni of IIT Delhi and a part of Forbes Under 30 list. After graduating from IIT Delhi in civil engineering, Falgun went on to work as a business analyst as Opera Solution. And from there on, went on to work as a principal in one of the edutech consulting companies. Falgun currently leads the overall growth operations and university relations at Grad. We've got Praveen Kumar, Director of Udacity. Praveen is an MBA from IIM Lucknow, and he's currently leading global student operations as a Director of Udacity. He's been part of multiple startup operations and has been instrumental in building businesses and operations from scratch. And we've got Arjun Nair. Arjun is a co-founder at Great Learnings, which is India's leading edtech platform for working professionals, where he is responsible for growth and operations. Arjun has been a part of leadership at a number of VCs and funded startups in the US and India. And prior to Great Learnings, he headed the strategic initiatives at ZipDial, which was acquired later on by Twitter. Arjun completed his MBA from IIT Sloan, where he received the prestigious Legatum Fellowship Award to entrepreneurs from emerging markets. He received an MS from Duke University and has worked with Siemens Healthcare on building products for personalized medicines. And lastly, we've got Amit Ratanpal, who's founder and managing director of Link, an investment firm. Over to you, Amit, and look forward to an engaging 60 to 70 minutes of, I would say a thought-provoking session, which we look forward to.
Thank you, Vivek, and thank you, ABC team, for giving all of us this opportunity. I really appreciate it. So, and again, very warm welcome to everyone. And it's interesting that, we're having this panel discussion 100% online. And most of the organization who is part of this is also, focusing on online as the core business from a delivery to student perspective. So I'm sure we are going to have a very, very engaging time for all of us. What I was thinking is maybe we can spend about 1 or 2 minutes, each one of us, and just give a little bit of background about your organization and what you've been doing. And, then we can have a bit of a interactive, not a question answer round, but more of an interactive session so that the audience can understand the online world, what has transformed, whether it's going to be something which we all believe is going to be sustainable or it's just a momentum. And there are many more areas which I'm sure our users would be keen to hear as well. So maybe, I will request, Shreyasi to, give a couple of minutes about your organization as well as what you've been doing lately.
Sure. Thanks, Vivek, and thanks, Amit, and hi to everyone else on the panel. At Harappa, essentially the problem that we're trying to solve is we believe that there's a range of what we call cognitive, social, and behavioral skills, which are very, very critical for both professional success as well as personal growth, which is largely unaddressed or certainly under-addressed by the formal higher education systems and by functional and domain skills. So at Harappa, we have essentially created a behavior science inspired curriculum for these cognitive, social, and behavioral skills. We've been in operations for around well, actually, we went live to the world only last year in April. So I think we're possibly the newest and the youngest, certainly on this panel. And our focus is to go both to campuses as well as corporates with our suite of courses, which are online first, and then we have a series of value-added services. We've also started our individual, sort of going directly to individual learners, really thanks to COVID and what we've been seeing. What we're really excited by as being part of the EdTech or online learning industry is obviously the ability to give learners from 18 plus, 18 right up to 65 till whenever they're in the professional world, several exit and entry points into learning, and then for them to be learning skills that they might not have had a chance to pick up earlier.
Thank you, Triyashi. Really appreciate it. And I absolutely agree with this. In the last 10 years of my private equity investing experiences, specifically in the education, I've seen that, there is a lot of changes or transformation happening where people were first focusing on core skills, and now we are looking at 21st century's life skills. And it's good that your firm is only focusing on this, or what I would call is the life skills, that what can we make a difference or a change in our life where we can even survive this COVID situation, because this has not been taught in any of the B schools, including when I went to Harvard Business School. They didn't teach me how to, be trained for this COVID situation. So absolutely will be very, very exciting and interesting. And over to Praveen. You've been a global organization. Obviously, the headquarters is in the US, and Udacity is a pioneer, as I know, who started the nano degrees, with a very focus, saying that almost like trying to disrupt the MBAs, that's why they said nano degree. So definitely would be good to hear from you as well.
Cool. So Udacity, as you mentioned, that it's a US-based organization. It's in Mountain View, and Udacity focuses on training the world's workforce in the skills and jobs of future, and that's what the core focus of the organization has been. We primarily focus on cutting edge technology areas. We have recently started getting into some of the business related courses, and then we have also launched one executive program, which is not a nano degree program, but core focus remains on technology. And the focus is that how can you train everyone in a way that they are able to hit the ground running. And that's where we are equally strong with enterprises, and we are also equally strong in consumer. People see the value that once you go through these nano degree programs, which are like rigorous programs, 3 to 6 months is average duration of these programs. Once you go through these programs, you are able to build skill sets that you can apply directly on live projects. And that's what Udacity stands for.
Oh,
and we sort of tell what is it that I manage. I lead global student services team. And when I say student services, we have more than 1,500 subject matter experts who work with us from around 100 plus countries as mentors and reviewers. And I lead the team who manages all of this network.
Oh, thank you, Praveen. Really, really appreciate it. It's very interesting. And over to Falgun, because Upgrad has been definitely disruptive. The entire online space, specifically on the higher education and job, and specific, have been pretty active on the media side as well. So would love to hear more about you. And specifically for you, I would definitely ask as a question that in this online world, where people would say that, I want to say, if you see the trend, it started with everything would be online, and said, no, online may not work, but it's only the blended. But you have really taken and said that online is the future. So also would be good to hear how you've been thinking of this entire online world.
Great. Thanks a lot, Amit. Just to give an introduction, I think the problem that we are trying to solve, or the space that we are trying to occupy, is being lifelong learning partners in the area of higher education, right? So we think of Upgrad as a higher education company, and we want to be lifelong learning partners for anybody who is in higher education. So for us, this starts after somebody completes 12th grade, right? So starting from doing your first degree. It could be a BTech, it could be a BSc, it could be a BCom, then joining the workforce, then thinking of doing a master's, then again improving your position in terms of your career, and then doing continuous upgrading to remain relevant till the age of 50 or 60. I think that's the entire journey that upgrad wants to be along with you and handhold you to ensure you have a successful career. And I think that's the space we occupy. In terms of the macro opportunity, obviously, I think we all know that, look, there are 120 million people in India who are in the age group of 18 to 23. Only 36 million of those are in colleges. Rest of them drop out and do not even get access to higher education for various reasons. Even the people even the 36 million who do go to colleges, a lot of them do not get access to quality quality education that delivers on learning and career outcomes. So how do we play a space, one, in that 18 to 24 age group to make sure that we are able to deliver learning and career outcomes is the first challenge. And I think that's a big opportunity. Post that, if we look at 24 to draw an arbitrary line, let's say 50 years old, right? That is the space where gone are the days when you could have just passed out of college and joined a job and can be in that job for the next 30 years, right? People change careers very fast. Technology is changing very fast. And there's constant need for you to upskill and upgrade yourself to remain relevant and to pursue more exciting careers. So in that space, how do you make sure that you provide that kind of opportunity for working professionals who are in the 24 to 50 age group, who do not have the luxury to keep going back to campus every time? I think it's the second big opportunity that we have looked at and we are trying to play a part in. So that's broadly about upgrad. To answer your question, Amit, on online and how it is going to evolve, I think we have seen that it is a constant. So when we first started, we said that, look, we will do a 12-month online program that is priced at 2.5 lakh rupees, right? And people laughed at us. They said that, look, you guys are out of your mind. Nobody will be able to do a 12-month online program. In India, you are charging 2.5 lakh. This is a joke. And we said, okay, we believe that there is a value proposition to do this and we will continue to do it. They said, okay, how many enrollments are you expecting? We said 200 because this is the first batch. And they said 50. So people made bets with us saying that, look, this is not going to work. Online education for this serious, deep programs with this kind of duration and this kind of price point, people just won't pay. And I think from there, we have come a long way over the last 6 years, where right now we are able to deliver a PhD program online. We work with multiple universities now to deliver research masters and PhDs online. And I think that's been a long journey. And I think it's still a very nascent space, so there's still a lot of work to do. But I think a lot of folks are warming up to the idea of online education. COVID has definitely accelerated it. But one of the things that we are very cognizant of is that I think we want to change behavior, and we are all in a category where people do learn, but we want to increase the digital adoption and digital penetration. And for that, we need to break down a lot of assumptions. People assume a lot of things, well-founded, unfounded assumptions, and we need to break that down. And although COVID is giving us that headwinds, we at Upgrad don't want to assume that this is a definite long-term behavior change. It could also very well turn out to be a short-term pain that people would want to forget after this is over, right? So I think there is a lot of responsibility on all of us to also ensure that we create those kinds of products, the services that are required, and the communication that is required to ensure we are creating a long-term behavioral change, and we use this as an opportunity to accelerate that.
No, all the best, and it's definitely interesting, and specifically as we have seen that the VC world has seen in the last, at least specifically in a couple of months, a lot of attraction on the EdTech space. However, it has been predominantly on the K-12 space as we see, but obviously as we move to the various discussion, I think that would be one of our questions for all of us, that what is going to make the VC think differently when it look at higher education or the skills development in the EdTech space. So over to my friend Anil. As everyone would know that his website has been always the rank number 1, and not one but multiple website, and I'm sure you have that hidden mantra or something which you would know, and it would be great if you can share what has that been on that experience, and how you are looking at this entire piece from a monetization perspective, because while you've been drawing one of the largest traffic, but even the monetization, I think end of the day also is going to play an important role at some point of time. And it's gone are the days where there were eyeballs days, then there were how many customers you want, and ultimately people ask, ultimately boiling down to how many paid customer the conversion. So would be good to have your experience and sharing on that as well.
Sure. Thanks, Amit. So guys, Adda 24/7 is a test prep company focused on government jobs, very, very focused on government jobs. And we help aspirants prepare from uh, quite a low level exam like Daroga or police exam till banking, SSC, teaching exams, and goes up to UPSC. In fact, just to give a background, so we started as a offline test prep company in 2010 by the brand name Career Power. And from 2010 to 2016, we did purely offline with almost 80 branches all across India. And we did very rigorously and had a lot of learnings, a lot of good and bad experiences. Towards the mid of 2016, we decided to go online and completely shift our focus to online. One of the key reasons was we started the company keeping in mind tier 2, tier 3. We had very clear vision that we want to bring level playing field in terms of access to a quality education. This was very clear thought. And we chose this segment of government jobs because we realized that this is one of the key area for people who are in smaller places, people who are in tier 2, tier 3 or villages. The biggest problem for these guys is jobs. So somehow they are able to do their schooling, graduation and all, but jobs are not there. So we thought that this will be the perfect thing if we want to cater to that segment. And we decided to go for government job test prep. So 2016, again, the idea was that we were running offline centers in bigger cities. And of course, if your idea is to go to tier 2, tier 3, then offline is not going to work. And that's a main trigger to go online. And that was complete DNA shift for us, complete organization shift for us to do online from offline. But as Amit said, the first thing we cracked was how to bring people to our platform, how to engage our users, and how to talk to them, how to understand their problems when it comes to online. Yeah, so yes, we get a lot of traffic on our websites. We run multiple websites, and almost every month we get more than 10 million DAO, 10 million MAU on our websites. But Amit, I just want to share this with you. So last year we had almost 500,000 paid users. So, so I think in terms of paid users also we did quite well in that sense. Of course, this is a totally different segment and ticket size and everything is different. Learning needs are different. So coming to a specific problem that we are going to solve is, so we have this huge audience. So almost 80% of our audience comes from tier 2, tier 3. And these guys, in most of the cases, do not have proper educational background in terms of getting proper schooling or proper graduation. And again, when it comes to test prep, the exams also aptitude based. So that part is also simple in that sense. But how we engage those users and how we enable those users to learn and continuously upgrade themselves, and how we empower them so that they feel that they have the level playing field as compared to people who live in bigger cities. That's a challenge we want to solve always. And the biggest advantage with us is that we had huge offline experience also. In fact, I also taught in our offline for quite some time, multiple years. So the whole team has been mentors and teachers also. So probably we have that kind of exposure and that kind of understanding of the audience which we target. And again, our motive is how we find out those specific problem areas which discourage them from learning online. So how we, in fact, one of the things we always think is that offline is traditional. It has been here for quite long. How we replicate that in online, and how we probably make it better than offline, so that a user actually learns and he's able to get the right job and right career in his life.
No, thank you, Anil. And it seems that you got it right, how to convert that offline to online. And with that question, I would like to move to Arjun, because originally, and you would correct me, is that, as at a group umbrella, you're part of Great Lakes. Obviously, Great Learning is a very separate entity, but I'm sure you would have also, as an organization culture, would have gone through offline to online, or it was always an online, and you do have a blended as well. So would love to understand your experience both on the online world, offline, and the blended world as well.
Yeah, so first of all, good evening, and it's great to see you all. I know of all of you, but never had a chance to meet. So it's great to be talking to all of you. So, for most of you, of course, Great Lakes, and it is true that we started as a spin-off from Great Lakes, and that's how we started. However, in the last, 5-6 years, we've of course been a independent entity with a very different focus. So our idea has been always around looking at, for the most part, professional education, and now, of course, higher education, to see how can we bridge the gap between what students know and what they need to know to get a good job and have a career transition. So some of us who've had the opportunity to study at some of the best institutes in the world know the transformative power of higher education. I've had that opportunity. Several of you have had that opportunity. So that's what we're trying to solve. And it is true in today's world that it's still the best minds are at the best institutes, which is why we partner with, Stanford, with UT Austin. In India, we work with Great Lakes. Now we work with IIT Madras. So we're very, very selective in the universities that we are partnering with. It's a deliberate choice to partner with the best and create programs that bridge that gap about employability. So that's one aspect. Now, the second aspect of what, as we all know, it's not so much about whether the faculty is there to teach. Now, that's very important, but it's also about the mentorship, the pedagogical elements that are put in place to engage with students, create learning outcomes. And the trick is, how do you do that at scale? So today we, again, reach about, 3 lakh students who take our free programs and about 25,000 students who take our paid programs in a year. So that's a fair bit of scale that is there. And these are all PG level programs, and well, not the free ones, but the paid ones. And it's now primarily today, now, of course, when we look at our portfolio, it's primarily all offered online. But about 4 months back, there was a significant portion of it where it was blended as well. And that transition, of course, has happened quite seamlessly because we were very well set up to do that even before the COVID crisis, based on our technology and operations that we had built. So yes, we do believe that there is still a significant portion of the audience or our learner base who would come back to a blended program. I think even right now, there are people in our funnel who are not enrolling, who are just waiting to get the blended programs to get started. I think for some people, it just works better. So I think that is going to come back. I don't know if it's going to be 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. That's anybody's guess. But we do think that that is going to come back, right? It's not that the world is going to be only online education. I think there is some magic that happens in the class. All of us have gone to colleges and schools. And we know the power that a faculty has when they stand in front of you. And, I've said this before, there are certain things that will not happen online. For example, it's very unlikely that 3 friends will meet each other and start a company together online. It's not going to happen, right? But those things will happen in a classroom. It's happened several times in our classes. So we believe in that. But at the same time, we also believe that excellent outcomes are possible online. There are some things that you can do, and we are doing those things. But we think that there is a future in both modes of learning, and we do believe that there is a need for high quality education in these areas, and we are working with our partners and our platform capability to deliver that.
Sure. Hey, thanks, Arjun. This is very interesting because the question for all of us is that should we focus on the delivery channel, online or offline, or should we focus on the outcome, right? And because that itself is equal. So if I look at from a student perspective, they say, hey, you know what, I want an outcome, but I still have to travel 10 kilometers in a traffic in Bangalore or Mumbai or anywhere, and it's not practically possible. And with that, maybe a question to Praveen is that, do you believe that the world will be only online, or there is a blended model as well? And specifically in the light of, we've seen some of the large bootcamp company like the Trilogy in the US were completely offline, and they really did fantastic well. So, and you've been always sticking, or your organization have been always sticking to online. So, would be good to have your perspectives as well. That what do you think the future of online is?
So this is how I feel personally. There is enough audience for only only sort of online delivery, blended, or just going to the campus and then having in-person classes. There is enough business around the world, and it is about how efficiently you are able to cater to each of these segments that are available. Specifically talking about Udacity, Udacity, while as in earlier I was saying that we believe in practitioner level skills and it is important that somebody gets those kind of skills. COVID has, obviously it has increased business, and then we are seeing multiple sort of areas where we are seeing growth, and different technology areas we are getting different kind of sort of response from our students. What I feel is that with this overall scenario changing, online will have a new normal. And why I say this is that we have already seen a spike, but it's a spike in response to this crisis. But the new normal will, for me, will be definitely at a higher level than the earlier normal. And why I say this is a lot comes from enterprises. The outcomes are important because people are looking to get jobs. And from where are they going to get these jobs? These are the enterprises that are, because of this, to response to this crisis, they will change their business model. There will be digital transformation happening. There would be, companies would be looking at how to be more effective and how to sort of change the way they are doing business. And once that will happen, there will be new requirements. And there would be a skill gap that would be available. Now, that skill gap at scale could be filled by online education and by others. We feel at Udacity, we are well positioned considering we have such strong industry associations where we partner with companies and we develop the content, and we are able to create content as well as the projects that are sort of really helpful in gaining the important skills. So at Udacity, we feel really confident that this crisis will create a new normal, and enterprises will change their business models. Accordingly, there would be a skill gap, and that would be filled by both enterprises because they will reskill and upskill their employees, and as well as the consumers who are directly sort of looking out for opportunities, they will have to gain those skills.
No, sure. So, Praveen, I do agree that, there is a market for online blended, and saying that there will be certain transformation or changes happening. I think, but end of the day, I'll still focus on the outcome, and maybe because Falgun has been 100% online as a business, and I think the end from an outcome perspective has always been upgrading your skills, so getting a job. So do you see a difference when it comes for, do you think is it that as simple as one would say that, okay, you want a job, you do still an online course, A, you get the same learning outcome, and B, is it accepted by the corporate world as well? So what has been your experience in that?
In terms of purely learning outcome, we very strongly believe that online is the same as offline, if not better, right? And we have no doubt about that. And we have done multiple blind tests of people doing an MSc data science with us online versus doing on campus in Liverpool. We have given the same assessment to check. So we have done enough to make sure that we are very confident that the learning objectives and the learning outcomes can be achieved online. It is not a very straightforward infrastructure to build, but I think with the right combination of student selection, with the right combination of content, with the right combination of how you engage them on the learning platform, and with academic, non-academic, and career support services, putting all of this in place, we can deliver the learning outcome, and we have no doubts about that. The second part, in terms of corporate acceptance, I think that is a long drawn process, right? I don't think that is going to change overnight. And that's something that we all have to work hard to thaw. So from that thought process, I think most of us will say that, look, we work with the industry very closely to try and break that barrier. In terms of, for example, at Upgrad, what we do is we bring the major recruiters we believe for a certain subject area. We bring them into the entire process of creating and delivering the course itself. So for example, we say that we go and talk to companies and say, okay, where are you facing a challenge in terms of hiring good people? and they say, let's say data science, we're not getting enough data scientists. So we say, okay, we will build a program around that. So why don't you come and take a part in building that program in terms of helping us with curriculum design, helping us with your experts teaching the program. And eventually at the end of it, I go back to them and say that, look, boss, you told me you're struggling to hire data scientists. We delivered this, you're part of the entire journey. So now why don't you hire these 50 amazing people who want to graduate from this program? So I think I definitely do believe that today online does not probably have the same level of acceptance as offline from an employer standpoint, but we see that it is definitely improving, and it is not an overnight process, and we will constantly need to work at it to make sure that they look at us as with equal respect, or with the same lens as they would look at an offline university. And that's where, when I work with a lot of people, I say that, look, I can give you so much more than an offline university when you're recruiting people, right? I can tell you what this person is really good at and what this person is really bad at, rather than just tell you that he's done this degree with this grade point. I can give you so much data across how he engages with his peers, what are his personality traits, what is he really good at in terms of a certain skill, what is he not good at, what have we trained him. There's so much data that is available for you to do much more scientific recruiting as compared to what you probably do today on campus. The second thing is, the other advantage is that, look, there are only people passing out once a year on campus. So you'll have to sync your business cycles to those recruiting cycles in that sense. And at Upgrad, for example, there is no batch concept, right? So we start every 2-3 months, or every month for that matter. And there's a constant supply of skilled talent. So that's the other advantage. So there are advantages in the online model, but there are a few, as I said, reservations and a few assumptions that people come with, which are sometimes founded and sometimes unfounded. So we'll have to break those, and it'll take some time, but we're surely on that path already.
No, Falgun, this is even more interesting because you are actually almost there to bring, I would say, break the myth of social engagement and social skills. Doesn't matter whether you're offline or online, or say we are consistent and on that. And maybe, over to Shreyasi, how much you believe what Falgun is saying, because you've been always going to focus on the fundamentals, on 21st century life skills. Do you think that with the business that you are into, or the outcome that you are looking at, it can actually be delivered 100% online, or you still believe that it's good to have a cup of coffee or a discussion in the classroom, because that's where different types of learning does happen as well?
I think you can completely learn online to a high degree of proficiency and to a high degree of learning outcomes on a variety of skills. So I definitely do believe that. Even more than Falgun and Upgrad, for example, we get a lot of the fact that we are teaching skills like negotiation, like building presence, like speaking effectively, that people feel even more unsure that you can teach online without having a faculty. But there is this amazing researcher called Chris Dede. He works on what's called the 60-year curriculum at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and he said something to me that I really feel is so important, that there is a certain disinhibition also to learning online, especially for the kind of skills that we do, whether it's on writing, on speaking. The fact is, if you can actually give audio clips and submit that to the platform, you actually feel much less nervous than doing that if you're a poor speaker, rather than in a classroom full of 80 people where you don't feel confident. The other thing, recently at Harappa, we organized something we call the Republic of Letters, which was essentially a congregation of higher education leaders from India and abroad. And we had Rick Levin, who used to be the ex-CEO of Coursera, and he was president of Yale. And again, he said something that again is something that I think about a lot. The fact is that what online does for you is that the quantum of feedback, just the accelerated feedback loop, and that learner stream data, which Falgun was also saying, so much about the learner. I've taught as well as a faculty in higher education institutions. You don't know who's zoning out in a classroom, sitting on the third row with their laptop up. You have no idea that they are engaged, right? I feel actually I know much more about the way that my learner on Harappa learns a certain kind of course than they could. And the fact is, for example, our course, one of our courses we made free because it was so resonant with what was happening in the world. It's a course called Embracing Change. It's full of concepts on grit and resilience from positive psychology, which we feel everybody. We've got 65,000 learners on that. Now just imagine the improvement data points that we have got in such a condensed manner on a course like that at a high quality pedigreed institution, which is built on being selective, right? You will only get batches of 100, 200. For them to even arrive at 65,000 data points to be able to improve, I think that's a massive advantage all of us have, that how quickly you get feedback, how much of quantum of feedback that you get, and how quickly you can constantly iterate. And I think we're all really at, this is like when the book was born. I think people always thought that you could only learn from your guru sitting under the banyan tree, and that is the purest form of education, because that's all the wisdom is transferred and passed on to you. I'm sure people didn't believe in books because that felt secondhand. And I think we're really at that arc of history where in online. So I think all kinds of formats will emerge. They will be online only. They will be online plus offline, more of online, less of offline, more of offline, less of online. And that's exciting, because I think the last point that I will make is that the belief that all of us have, and a lot of higher education systems so far have had, that you finish studying at 23, 25, and that equips you for the rest of your life isn't feasible, right? I think not that we all will have 6, 7 jobs. We'll have 6 or 7 careers in our lifetimes. And there's no way that you can learn everything when you need to, everything that you will need to learn for the rest of your life at 22, 23. So I think more power to all the learners out there who can, like I said, come in and come out and do different kinds of courses at different points, depending on how much time they can spend, how much money they can spend. So I think we're looking at a very exciting landscape of a variety of learning formats and learning content for different milestones in our lives.
Thanks, Shreya. See, this
And
is
actually, I do want to say that I do feel that some things you do learn better online. I actually genuinely believe that. And I'll tell you why we think of that at Harappa. In each of our courses, we've actually mandated that we'll have 5 faculty teaching one course instead of 1 superstar faculty teaching a course, because of the kind of courses we teach are as much art as they are science. And you learn a lot from their practical application of a concept taught, whether it was applied in startups, whether it was applied in management consulting, in public policy. And that's almost impossible for you to do for 3,000, 4,000 learners, even in the best institutions. So I certainly believe that.
This is, as I mentioned, very, very interesting that you definitely, I thought that probably you'll tell Falgun, you know what, soft skills cannot be taught offline, but you are even making a stronger point by saying that merely 65,000 data points and the analytics around is even more interesting, which you cannot do in offline. And you get the results which one would have waited after 30 days or 50 days, offline and all is gone. Now you get results which is live. Means good teacher, great. If it's not working out, or this is the amendment. So yes, there are obviously a lot of benefits of being 100% online, where a lot of analytics can be available. You can see what is working, what is not working. There could be actually, in true sense, the remedial learning. And maybe to an extent, online also can help us to reach to different parts of the world, different parts of the India. And I think with that, I would love to have Anil's view, because you in the space of recruitment, where I think predominantly you will see people coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities, and you would correct me on this. And that I think has definitely transformed and changed, specifically because you can't have so many offline centers in tier 2, tier 3 cities because the unit economics and all this, but that's where your online is going to make a difference. So would we love to understand your experience in that as well?
Sure. So Amit, I believe that there are clearly 3 things which, if we look from a student perspective, somebody who is in a village or who is in a town, 3 things which work, which really work as compared to offline. There's a huge advantage in terms of online. The first thing is you get access to best faculty or the top class faculty. So when we talk to tier 2, tier 3, the biggest problem is you don't have the right trainers, right kind of teachers, or well qualified teachers, or somebody who can teach in a very engaging way also, and somebody who has the knowledge also. So this is one biggest advantage which these guys get when they come online, because in online there are very few teachers who will be on any platform. For example, our platform, there will be limited number of teachers, but those will be some of the best, and so everybody get access to those teachers. Second is the ability to clear the doubts in a 24/7 kind of ecosystem, because learning is all about doubts. Learning is all about questions, queries, and in traditional ecosystem, it is just that limited time after the class. You talk to the teacher and you are able to ask few queries in 5-10 minutes. So if you compare that with online is really amazing. Right? You can ask query any time during the day, during the night. So this ecosystem has evolved quite a lot in most of the tech companies. And third element is the same which we're discussing just now, that platform knows a lot about you, and platform can give you right feedback in terms of where you are weak, what are your strengths, where you need to spend time, and whether how far you are from your goal. So the platform where you're studying, platform knows a lot about you. In fact, that platform is constantly comparing you with others also. And when it comes to competition, so it is all about comparison, where you stand as compared to others. So if we talk of traditional ecosystem and you are in a small place, you will not know where do you stand and what's going on, where is the competition as of now. But in online, you will have clear idea where you stand and what are the areas you need to focus and you need to clarify. So for me, these are the three things which give huge advantage to anybody who is in a small place and who is opting to go online as compared to offline.
And thanks, Anil. And I agree. It's very interesting to come out with a perspective of standardization, because what is really important is the quality needs to be almost the same. And that almost you mentioned that can be achieved because of online. And at the same time, we've been hearing that blended will be the future, will be also coexist, and we will see also offline exist. So do we see any learnings on this, that how we can ensure that assessment, quality standards, the tutor training or the teacher training or the professor training again and again, is there a methodology why this thing be standard? And maybe Praveen or even Arjun can look at this two questions, because you've been completely offline and online, and with 100% online, how we can achieve this standardization in this world as well.
Yeah. So maybe I'll go first. So, that's actually a very relevant question for us in the sense that we extensively have live teaching, in the class, in our physical blended programs. When our classes were running, we'd have, something like 30, 40 sessions happening at the same time. So maybe that, and in multiple centers, so probably 100 faculty members coming to a center across India. And when we're doing this online, it's probably 200 or 300 faculty, in this case, mentors, in a given weekend, teaching close to 10,000 students at a given weekend. So that's during live sessions, right? So that's the scale at which we are operating on every given weekend. So what you asked is extremely pertinent across all of these live sessions. How do you maintain consistency? So we measure. So I think you have to break it down to multiple things. Number one is your content and curriculum has to be extremely standardized, right? So that is one difference from, let's say, if you go to an IIT or an IIM or MIT or Harvard or wherever. Faculty has the liberty to teach whatever they want. In fact, nobody will let you do anything otherwise. You can't go to a faculty in one of these institutions and tell them teach it in this manner. But when we do at scale, you are compromising a little bit on the faculty's flexibility to do whatever they want. And you are actually telling them this is the curriculum that needs to be delivered during this 2-hour session. And that has to be standardized. So it goes through iterations. So number one is standardizing the curriculum that gets delivered. Number two is in selecting these faculty members and making them go through a training process. So we have a very rigorous process where they have to present once individually to one of our internal team members. Then we'll do a trial class where they'll present to maybe 10-20 people, and then we see how they perform. And it's not just we're looking for their knowledge, because anyone we select will have knowledge, but we all know that great teachers have something beyond knowledge. So we check for those parameters, and we ensure that if you put them in front of a class, even when it's a mentored small group of 10-15 learners, or it's a large class of 60 or 70 people, they have the ability to do a good job. Then it's also important to take diversity in the class out as much as possible if you can. And online, it is possible to create cohorts, because it's especially when you do blended, when you do these programs where you've got a 22-year-old kid coming into it along with a 45-year-old or a 50-year-old. You can't teach them in the same way. So you'll have to allocate mentors that are different. So even if the faculty is fantastic, your feedback is going to go for a toss, and the session will not have outcomes if you teach it exactly the same way to the 22-year-old who's looking for the first job versus the 45-year-old who's looking to apply and solve problems in their job. So you'll have to create cohorts meaningfully. The last part of it is about getting feedback. So you have to get feedback for every session. So we do that. We obsessively pore over that. We get feedback for every single session that is there. And if there are indicators, so you can use technology for this. There are indicators that show you based on how the distribution of feedback as to whether the session has to be repeated, whether this is more about a couple of students having problems, or you need to give some specific coaching to the faculty or the mentor who's teaching and having them come and do something else differently. So getting that feedback, so in this case, it's not just about the learner's feedback, but really feedback about how prepared is the faculty, what are all the things that they're doing or not doing, and then ensuring that there is a really good experience that happens in the end for the student. So it comes down to all of these things. I don't think there is any magic in it. There are, or even if there is magic that some faculty member might come with, it won't scale. The only way to scale it is by having a very clear guideline or set of operating procedures. In our case, we evolved that over a period of time. And secondly, using technology as much as possible to track every aspect of that faculty interaction, measure it, and then take corrective actions if indeed something does go off track. Last thing, unfortunately I have to jump off. So I would love to stay here for longer, but I have a webinar that I'm going to do. I'm going to moderate with Business Standard in about 10 minutes. I think I can stay for a couple more minutes, but eventually I might have
sure.
to.
That's fine, Arjun. We know you have a hard stop, and I think Shreyasi has a hard stop at 5:10. So since you have a hard stop, we'll not stop you. And then I think we'll try to wrap up by 5:10 or 5:15 if by that time.
So I'll quickly sort of give perspective from Udacity. Udacity's differentiation in terms of how we create content is partner with industry leaders. Right now, we work with companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, and our team partners with these companies. And the course curriculum is designed with these companies. So people from there who are practitioners of those skills will help us create the overall structure of the nano degree programs. Then we will have a standard nano degree that is created. So it's not a live session that happens. These are pre-recorded, high quality videos that are created to sort of make people understand those concepts. In addition to these concepts, a nano degree program will have different courses, and these courses will also have projects, and these projects mimic what is required, what is happening in the industry. So basically a problem statement in the industry would be there in the course. So people go through that content, will submit these projects, and they also get real human feedback, as in subject matter experts in those technologies will review those projects and will give feedback to the students. And if while they are going through this content, if they get stuck somewhere, there are mentors available who in an almost real-time manner will solve their concerns and queries. So it is almost about how can you unblock the students really quickly? How can you make really high quality content available to them? And then how can you make them gain those skills by going through those projects? So that's kind of how Udacity approaches this problem. And within that, we will also collect feedback from the students. So at every course level, every concept level, students will have the option to give us feedback, and that's where we continuously iterate. So we'll get feedback from the students. If something has to be changed, we change that, and we develop new nano degree programs with the same methodology, and we continue to update our existing content with the same methodology. And that's where we are able to standardize everything. Everyone gets the same high quality technology the sort of training, and at the same time they are also able to gain skills because they go through these projects that are, again, the projects that have standard rubric, and then support from mentors and reviewers.
Amit, I'd love to come in here and, sorry, you're on mute, I think, but I'd love to come in here and share a couple of things that...
Absolutely, Shreyasi. Please.
I think this live TA support is even more powerful on online, that even the best universities can't do it. And I think there are many things that a great TA can help you do, a teaching assistant can help you do, that you're not going to bother faculty for. And actually, I don't think we account for that concept or that model, certainly in most higher education institutions in India. And I think we see great success and engagement on our live TA support, channel that we run. And actually learn so much about the learners and what they tell us, right? We've also, for the kind of skills that we have actually, for main 25 skills, like I said, because they seem so, we're of course on discovering purpose or leading self. How do you even rate people, an A or a B on that? So we've had to develop the proprietary assessment engine, which goes beyond concept recall and concept, content comprehension, much more to, a different currency of progress, right? In our case, that currency of progress is behavior change. And our behavior change is measured at various points, right? So we've now then broken that into skill, effort, and confidence. And so every question is tagged to skill, effort, and confidence. But the most meaningful thing for behavior change really is the fact that you will have to do it for much longer than at the end of the completion of your program, whatever program that you've chosen. And I think there online provides a very, exciting opportunity that, how can you nudge the learner post completion at various points of that? And that can actually be automated, and lots of kinds of reinforcement. So stuff like that is very exciting. And last thing I do want to say that I think all EdTech or online, and we call ourselves an online learning institution as well, because we've chosen to build our entire curriculum ourselves. And so we do want to be sort of the pedigreed institution for cognitive behavioral and social skills. The fact is, I think we are all compared to the best universities and institutions in the world in our second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth year of being in existence. And I think the assumption that we have that those institutions truly present great learning outcomes is a bit of a fallacy. They have great degrees, and that degree has a lot of credentialing value. But I don't think, if all of us were to be honest, and I went to LSR, considered I went to JNU, they're all considered great institutions. But really, how many times have we been asked what was the quality of the learning that we got from all our subjects? We got a great degree that looks good on our CV. So I think, I don't think the offline institutions have also fully crack the problem of how engaged the learner is and what is the quality of learning outcome, much less that we have so early on in the journey of online first forms, essentially.
No, Shreyashi, I think we have lost Shreyashi, but I think it seemed that almost everyone is a strong believer of online this group. So definitely I give up saying that online is definitely going to be the way out. And myself being a VCP player, it's something which, it's good to see that at least, and I do, for all disclosure, I do have investments in higher education and online, and it's a company which does online as well. So it's good that at least, the entrepreneurs do believe that online is a big opportunity. I think it's a very interesting question for Anil, that while we all believe this is online, but from a government perspective, they do say that online is an important area. But at the same time, all these government examinations and all this, some of them move online, but quite a few is offline. So do you think there is a way out by doing everything online, and where we ensure we just have a quality on assessments and other things as well?
I think that's a process problem, or I will say execution problem. Government also wants to conduct the exams online, and if we look at the trend in last 4 or 5 years, government is slowly moving these exams online. We are facing problem currently because currently it's not possible to conduct exams in physical ecosystem. So even right now, when we say they are conducting exams online, that is also being conducted in physical centers, where these centers have desktops and laptops, and students come there and give the exams there. I believe that in coming time, in next 2 to 3 years, probably, I think we should not need it. We should be able to conduct these exams while we are at home only. Especially in last 4 or 5 months, I have come across many companies who are trying to do that. Because if you look from government perspective, they want to conduct exam, but of course there is a limitation. If I just give you a rough number, So roughly there are around 40 to 50 notifications, exam notifications every month for government jobs. And if you look at the number of exams which government is going to conduct around the year, it's going to be huge. And if we are going to conduct these exams in physical centers, it's very difficult. There are so many practical challenges. So what I believe is that eventually this ecosystem is going to change and exams are going to be conducted from home only. Currently, it's not possible, but I think there are many companies who are trying to solve this problem, where the exams should be conducted from home. And I can see that trend that government also want to expedite these exams. So one of the key reason why government want to do the exams is to expedite only, because the offline process takes huge time. There is certain capacity in exam center, and you can conduct exam of a certain number of students at a time. So yeah, so as of now, things are not very clean on that side. There is still that offline exam and offline question paper kind of thing, but it should change in coming years. That's what I believe.
Sure. No, I'm sure it will change. And I think that assessment online, basically we have seen proctoring is very much happening online, and some of the things which one needs to adapt in India as well. And Falgun, have you seen a disruption happening on this entire assessment space or online evaluation of the students? Basically, you've been working very closely with some of the traditional universities, and I'm sure there would be a challenge that on some of these areas. And do you have any thoughts or views which you would like to share with this audience as well?
Sure. I think, as you said, there is a lot of progress that has happened on the online proctoring part. And we work with, and we have tried multiple solutions across the board. And I think it has evolved really well. And I think one of us mentioned that earlier, that look, there is always this assumption that if it is happening on campus, it is sacrosanct, right? Some university recently asked me, "Yaar, isme cheating kaise nahi hoga?" And I said, "Yaar, main bhi college gaya tha, mere ko bhi pata hai ki wahan pe bhi cheating hota tha." Right? So I think you need to factor in that all solutions have some kind of loopholes. Right? None of it is perfect. Definitely online proctoring is not perfect as of now. But I think the rate at which those solutions are evolving, I think they're fairly robust and will solve for that problem. Where, for example, initially when we said that, look, we're trying these online proctoring solutions, universities were okay saying, okay, if it's a certificate program, this is okay. But if it's a degree program, you're not okay with these solutions because it is not as robust as offline assessments. But I think now they have warmed up, and now we're doing a lot of assessments online using online proctoring for even degree programs. And I think these solutions have evolved a lot. And I think even universities have warmed up to that idea. And for that matter, even when we work with the government in India, when it comes to offering online degrees, I think they have also fairly been appreciative of what online proctoring can do and how it can be integrated into this whole journey of driving digital adoption and penetration of online degrees.
Sure. No, that's thanks. So we are almost at 5 p.m. right now, and probably we've got about a few minutes to end this fantastic session about online and how it's disrupting this entire world, whether it's going to stay, not going to stay, what are the challenges which you're facing. Maybe we can give each of the speakers about 1 minute. If there is a last sort of a moment of a last advice which you would like to give to the entire audience, basically, from a perspective, could be, I'm just throwing ideas. One would be, hey, what should the VC world look at this EdTech platform, specifically on higher education skills? Is there any disruption which we believe will happen on the higher ed area side? Is there anything which the corporate world should look at differently? Because now, almost quite a few, especially in India, for 4 months, quite a few of the workforce has been working from home, and it's still working, right? It's working. So, any thoughts on some of these things would be great help for the policymakers, the corporate world, the learners, to at least look at different perspectives as well. And maybe we can start maybe Anil and then Praveen, Shriyasi, and then Falgun, if that's okay. And that probably would be a good end for us to summarize this particular session.
Sure. So Amit, I really believe that disruption in education has just started. I really believe that this has just started, and we are in very nascent phase. A lot of things are going to happen next 2 to 3 years, and 2 to 3 years only, because technology, you grow very, very fast. Disruptions come very, very fast. The initial idea, for example, initial idea for us to go online was to replicate offline in online mode. But that's the most basic thing you can do when you think of online. But as soon as you go online, then you start realizing that there are so many opportunities to give better experience to our user and to create better learning ecosystem for users. For example, in traditional learning, there are so many assumptions, and we always have those kind of assumptions. For example, learning generally is assumed that, okay, there is certain time in which you will study in a school, in a college, you study, let's say, 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock. In online, that's not the case. You can learn anytime. Somebody might be very productive and very receptive at night, and somebody might be good in the morning. So many opportunities, so many new dimensions have opened up. For example, one of the most basic thing which I personally feel is very amazing, that in older days people used to have their mentors, and even let's say Ramayana Mahabharata, there were people who used to guide, who used to be mentor, and who used to have a lot of knowledge. In today's era, the technology will have so much insight about you, about competition, about others, then they can guide you very, very precisely. So my belief is that new models are going to evolve in next 2 to 3 years, and we should really be open to those new ecosystems and new kind of models. And for entrepreneurs, I think this is a huge opportunity. Education traditionally has been offline. Even as on date, I believe almost 95%, 90-95% is offline only. And in terms of opportunity, it's huge opportunity ahead. And in terms of even innovating, there's a lot of scope for entrepreneurs, and you will see a lot of new companies, new models coming up in the next 1 to 2 years.
Sure. No, this is very encouraging, specifically for me, because my firm only invests in two sectors, education and financial services. And I've been investing in these two sectors for almost a decade. So at least it encourages me further that, okay, I've still chosen the right sector for at least next few years to come.
Sure.
So thanks, Anil, really appreciate it. I know, Shreyashi, you will have to, I've got few minutes and you do have a little bit. So over to you, and would love to have your last couple of comments as well.
Sure. You said earlier about advice. I don't think I want to give a Brad and Udacity advice yet, but I think we're all very lucky to be doing what we're doing at a moment like this in a country like this. So I think that I think Falgun had said something about. I think we all, as an ecosystem, I think we all have to be joint evangelizers of online, because I think all of us stand to benefit from that, and I think there is an element of that is certainly needed to convince people. And I think just all of us have to be mindful of that opportunity, that we're committed to high learning outcomes, because in that sense we're shaping and building the industry. I think the other thing, and I think Anil touched upon that, but certainly that I do feel that so far much of the online education and learning industry has become a much better frictionless distributor of what curriculum that was available offline. I think the real power is in being able to make curriculum, learning programs, learning experiences that did not exist in our traditional bachelor's and master's yet are so important, is really the take that we have that is important. So of course the test prep and everything will be a huge market opportunity, but truly to reimagine curriculum and reimagine, the inspiration and the learnings that whether children need, young professional needs, mid-career professional needs, I think none of that is available. So I think for us, all of us, to want to push the envelope on curriculum innovation, as much as obviously benefiting from some very clear and tangible market opportunities. And I think as educators at heart, where we get gratified by somebody becoming better or benefiting in their life because of what we do, I think that's something important to keep in mind.
Sure. At least, from a knowledge perspective, which, we earlier used to assume, oh, there's a university that has the knowledge and no one else. I think that disruption, already we have seen it happening. across the board. And that's where Coursera obviously a long time back started. And that's where we're saying that, hey, the knowledge which is here can be disseminated, or the Khan Academy and, various things. So that's something I agree with you that is surely helping, to disrupt that. I think one of the question which all will have to look at, will there be any differential left if everything is taught online, and what will be the differentiator? Maybe, Praveen, that could be an interesting feedback for the audience as well. Specifically, everyone is talking the same language of online, the same concept. What is going to be the differentiator then? You're on mute, Praveen.
So talking about that, if we just look back, there have been few changes that have happened over a period of time in online education. Coursera, Udacity came somewhere in 2011, and they started with MOOC platform. It was such a hype. Everyone was just going for these online free courses. But what happened eventually? Didn't get outcomes from those kind of programs. And the graduation rates were really low. And there was difficult for companies to monetize. Where this is how I feel, again, working with Udacity for around 3.5 years now, things that helped Udacity and some other platforms in similar domain. One, focus on quality content. There is plethora of content available. You go on YouTube, everyone can go and they can upload videos, and then there is a lot of good content, a lot of bad content. Focus on content that you produce will be really important. At Udacity, we feel that we are really good at creating this content again and again in different technology areas. Once you do that, that's the second step. There is now content is good, students would be engaged, but how do you make sure that they learn and then is important, because eventually if students don't sort of come to the end line, and if they are not able to sort of complete your program, then what's the point? There is no value, because they'll be just paying money and then they won't be getting any value out of it. So focus on the content. Any platform that is focusing on content, and services, so that students are successful, that would be beneficial. And finally, the holy grail of this would be, and specifically in countries like India, would be what kind of job opportunities and what kind of careers are we able to get these graduates once they have completed the program. So as an industry in India specifically, it is sort of our responsibility that we work towards creating really high content. We provide services so that students are engaged and then they are able to complete. And finally, what more can we do to create career opportunities for the graduates who are sort of coming out of these programs? I think these three things, the platform that is able to focus on these three things would be able to do really well in next few years or so.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I think it's all about outcome, because in 2014, 2015, when I made an investment into skills development, people were not looking at that in India. And that time we're saying that, boss, hey, you need a job. It's very seasonal, it's very cyclical, and all the challenges were there. But today the trend is that, hey, your outcome is playing a different role. Are you seeing an increase in salary? Are you seeing a job profile change? Or you are giving me a job? And probably who would be better than Falgun to sort of even answer that. But Falgun, any last comment for you, which you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, and I think just before I move on to my final comments, obviously outcomes are the most important part. And we look at outcomes as learning outcomes, and second as career outcomes. And delivering on both of them is going to be very important. Just final thoughts. I think the first one is what I had mentioned earlier. I think this is a great opportunity for online education. And I think a lot of learners and customers have adopted online education in the last few months because they don't have a choice. But we need to make that a permanent behavioral change. And that's where I think it's a great opportunity for us to build those value propositions, communicate those value propositions, and deliver those value propositions. So that, look, there is a penny dropping movement saying that, wow, this works as well as something else or even better than offline education. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to do all of that so that we don't lose this particular opportunity. On the second part, I think personally, this is more tactical, but we at Upgrad are really excited about what's happening in the formal education space in India. As I mentioned earlier, right now about 36 million people are enrolled in colleges doing undergrad and master's programs. A lot of them do not get access to quality education. The quality of infrastructure, the quality of faculty, and the quality of outcome specifically is very poor. Right? As per all indications, in the next 5 years, that 36 million number is going to go to 15 million. Right now, online is 0% of 36 million. It's completely on campus or distance. And given the change in direction of the government, of the universities, I believe at least 10% of that 50 million is going to be online enrollment. And that's the only way. Otherwise, there's no way we can add physical capacity for another 12, 13, 14 million seats. So right, we are looking at least 5 million learners in India over the next few years doing formal degrees online. And I think that's a huge opportunity, not just for Upgrad, but for everybody. If there are any entrepreneurs or VCs on this call, to see how somebody can play a part of that ecosystem in terms of enabling universities to deliver learning and career outcomes to learners.
Sure. No, I absolutely concur with you that if you see the gross enrollment ratio in India is 18%, maybe 20%, and the biggest challenge is that, hey, I'm still not getting a job what I need, or forget about the corporate world who says that I'm ready to pay, but please give me a candidate who can at least start from day one, and that's is a skills gap which we are seeing. But it's been an amazing and a very interesting session for at least me, and I'm sure all of you would have enjoyed. But and what I'm hearing from everyone is that online is going to stay, and probably COVID has expedited this shift. But at the same time, blended is also completely not going to move away. There will be a good online, offline. The question would be, what would be the mix? It could be, I think, anyone's guess. But there are inherent advantage of quality, consistency, analytics of understanding how improvement can happen. And there is a standardization as well. So I think it's going to be a very interesting future, and specifically what Anil mentioned, that EdTech is for next 2 to 3 years is going to be very interesting. So I'm pretty excited, and I'm even impressed that everyone is almost thinking on a very similar direction in terms of the way forward. So thank you very much. Really appreciated your time, and look forward to catching with you, all of you as well.
Thank you so much, Falgun. Thanks, Praveen. Thanks, Anil. Thanks, Amit, and to Shreyasi and Arjun as well. I think it's very informative, interactive, and engaging session. In fact, I think I was cautious of the time. 5:15 is what we had promised, and it's exactly 5:15 by my watch. Thank you so much, and a very engaging session. A lot of takeaways from this session, and I like Arjun's point about 22 and 45 years of age students studying together, and you needing a different mentor or a teacher, a faculty, and different feedback. Some of the points mentioned by Shreyasi pretty encouraging. Falgun and Upgrad and Udacity in a different space altogether of higher education, coming up with their own points, and the entire test prep thing. And I liked Falgun's point when he mentioned about cheating to hum log pehle bhi karte the, So I think a lot of takeaways,
I'm not saying it proudly. I'm just saying that all things have a loop.
A lot of takeaways, and I think I personally feel, education sector is I think especially the EdTech, I would say rather is I would say probably at a cusp or maybe inflection point, and I personally feel it's going to go up in the next 4 to 5 years, and let's hope we all sort of are a part of that journey, and we all do well in that space. Okay. Thanks so much.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks from ABC.
Thanks, Amit.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Manji.